Oh, I forgot how hard it was to breathe in that thing. Oh, costume of the week goes to Bane. Oh, Bane, that's right. I wore this costume a couple of years ago. Oh, not a couple of years ago. It was more like 5 years ago now. And it was so much fun. I won a costume contest in it. Oh, yup, Bane. Okay. So, now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about the theme of this video, which is my favorite monsters that originated in movies. That's right. Last week was like the ones that came before movies were even a thing. This one's all about the movie monsters. Yes, so this one's going to be fun because these are the monsters I grew up with. And a quick note about this video real quick. So there's going to be some major movie monsters who don't make my list for this. For one, because I was trying to keep it a short list. Two, is that this is my personal favorites. So there's probably a ton more monsters that were more impactful, scarier, and maybe you have personal favorites of your own. But this is my personal favorite list. So don't take it personally if you don't see a monster that you think should be on this list, not here. But yeah, so with that out of the way real quick, that's right, my favorite movie monsters. Like I said, these are the ones I grew up with. When I was young, my grandfather we used to sit down and watch monster movies all the time, scary movies. Same with my dad, so we would watch a lot of movies growing up that were scary. Maybe I shouldn't have been watching them when I was young, but that's what happened. And these are the ones that either filled me with the most fright or were my favorites. Alright, so jumping into it. Kicking off this list is the king of monsters himself, Godzilla. So generally, when you think movie monsters, you might not traditionally think Godzilla, but he is a movie monster. He's this big, rampaging beast. And he's always been an interesting thing because he's often compared to a natural disaster more than a monster, or man's folly with messing with nature and nature's retribution. So he's always been an interesting monster because sometimes he serves on the side of good, sometimes he's the main antagonist and he's got to be stopped before he destroys all mankind. But yeah, I mean, Godzilla, just loved him so much. Watched almost every single Godzilla movie at least once. Yeah, I mean, what's there not to like? The atomic breath, the roar, it's just a classic. So, moving on to the second one on this list will be the Creeper from the Jeepers Creepers series. So this is probably the newest one on the list. Came out in I think the 2000s. But yeah, there's just something always about the Creeper in the Jeepers Creeper series that I just enjoyed, from his look with the overcoat and the hat to his weapon usage, and how in the first film they slowly just kept revealing that this thing wasn't human and it was a monster that had all these kind of strange things going on. And oh yeah, the song that accompanied the Creeper, Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get them peepers? The way they did that and added it into the monster just made it just so good for me, in terms of just like the aesthetic of the monster, and how they used him on screen was just so perfect that I just loved it. And even into the second movie with him, even though you knew a lot about him at this point, except for like his origin, they were still able to take his concepts and make it seem new and make it still seem dangerous. And he's just otherworldly, and I love that about the Creeper. And he can definitely scare you. And one of the scenes from a horror movie that just sticks with me was from the second one, where the Creeper takes someone's head and it is just so visceral and animated that it just kind of really creeped me out. So, yeah, The Creeper, one of my favorite monster movies. All right, next on the list. This is one of my favorites. Like I said, well, this whole list is my favorites, but the Predator from the Predator series. So, where to begin with the Predator? So, first of all, I was always a big Arnold Schwarzenegger buff. I even thought about putting the Terminator that he played in here from the first movie, but it just narrowly missed the list. So, but yeah, the Predator. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I loved him in this one, and there was just something surreal about the Predator, and the fact that he was hunting you. He was not a monster you were trying to go fight and kill. You were trying to run from him, and you were trying to, survive him because he was hunting you. And there was just an interesting thing about that in the fact that it was kind of a role reversal, right? Because where normally humans are the hunters, they're trying to, make themselves the sportsmen of the natural world, having this alien entity come down and turn us into the prey, where it's the highly intelligent hunter that could just kill you anytime it really wanted to, but it's limiting itself to make it fun. And that's the thing about it, is that one of the things that I was so intrigued about the Predator was that this is fun for them. It's a game for them, and I think it was a interesting role reversal to think about deeper when you think about it. Also, the look of the Predator was amazing, with the weaponry, the shoulder cannon, the mask, the kind of alien dreadlocks coming down. It just had such a great look, and that's something that's personal for me, is that when I like the look of a creature, it makes me much more invested in the story and the monster. But yeah, the Predator, one of my favorite monsters and one of the best hunters in the universe. All right, number 3. Next on the list, Pinhead from the Hellraiser series. So this is back to pure horror, and Pinhead is just a personal favorite for me. Once again, just from an aesthetic point of view. Pinhead has the rows of pins on his head. He's white. He's got kind of the black overcoat, leathery look to him. Because if you don't know the story, the Hellraiser series is about a cube that can open portals. And one of the portals that gets opened is to this kind of hellish landscape where these creatures called Cenobites come in, and their whole shtick is they're the pleasure through pain, kind of slight BDSM take on monsters. But Pinhead's look is just so cool, and he's very intelligent, and I think that's one of the things that makes him such a great movie monster, is that when he talks, it's very refined. Because normally you either get the monster that is just growling, or they don't talk at all, or they do talk, but it's very kind of boisterous and silly at times. Whereas with Pinhead, it was very intelligent, it was very refined, it was very soft-spoken. He wasn't trying to be the typical movie monster. He just was terrifying simply from what he was trying to do, and his visage and his mannerisms. He was calm, in control, and yeah, if you ever get a chance to check out the Hellraiser series, it's a fun watch if you're into horror movies. A little bit gory because of the themes of it, but yeah, great. And one other thing I wanted to note about Pinhead was that in the original movie, he wasn't even supposed to be the lead monster, but he had such positive fan feedback from the movie that going forward in the series, he became kind of the main antagonist of that series because he was so well received from the public. He was clearly the face of the franchise. And if you can do that, just even if you aren't even supposed to be the main monster, Clearly, there's something good going on with you and your design. All right. Next one, I'm going to talk about Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So Freddy's an interesting one, and he's one of the few monsters that legit terrify me, especially when I was younger, because his whole shtick was that he could attack you in your dreams where you were your most defenseless, right? And nobody could help you. You were on your own. You were at his mercy, and he could take his time, just killing you. And there was a terrifying aspect to that, where you just, were just at his mercy. And you add that in with his look, right? The kind of fedora hat with the kind of striped sweater that just looked all torn up, with the clawed hands. And yeah, he's just a kind of horrifying. Oh, and the burned looking face, right? He's just kind of this horrifying thing to look at. And he's constantly coming at you and using your biggest fears in your dreams to kill you with them. And also, he's another one of those movie monsters that can talk. And there's something terrifying about having a monster, and kind of cool about it, chastising you and making fun of you while he's killing you, right? Because Freddy is not the most, unlike Pinhead, who's very elegant, very well-spoken, calm. Freddy is like the comedian of movie monsters. He makes all the puns, the bad puns, the one-liners, and it's funny and in a terrifying kind of way, because he's mocking you as he kills you. So yeah, Freddy, terrifying your dreams since I was a little kid. Whenever I watched a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I had the worst nightmares. Freddy Krueger. So one other thing about Freddy Krueger is that he's probably one of the few monsters that you will see that kind of hit mainstream. In terms of like not being the classics like a Dracula or something. Freddy Krueger blew up into his kind of own nature in like the 80s and 90s, where he was a part of the mainstream culture. And I think that transcendence of that kind of monster into the mainstream is something interesting that I wanted to point out about Freddy Krueger. All right. Final monster on this list. Jason from the Friday the 13th series. So, Jason, there's just something about the look of Jason and how he is portrayed on screen that I've just always loved. Never necessarily been afraid of Jason as a kid. Like I said, Freddy was probably the one that scared me the most. But there was just something so cool about his look with the hockey mask, the machete, which was such a signature weapon. Like if you were to have a knife, it could belong to so many different murderers, like Michael Myers and the guy from Scream, Ghostface. Ghostface from Scream. But with the machete, you almost instantly know it's Jason. The hockey mask, it's Jason. He has, and that kind of zombie look where you see pieces of his skin and stuff like that. And he's just one of those movie monsters that just, I think, are just so cool that you just almost root for him. He's just, like, you want to see Jason do his thing because, for one, it's kind of cool to see, and as the series progressed, they just got progressively more and more funny with the death and what Jason would do to people. That was just one of those things that you just wanted to see because it was just the rule of cool. And I think that's why, like, this list isn't in any particular order. Like, I'm not going to say one movie monster is my favorite, but of this list, if I had to pick one, it probably would be Jason because I just love his look so much. Of course, that can change day to day, but yeah, I mean, and there's just so many horror movie memes that kind of, I don't want to say started with Jason, but Jason kind of perfected and became the meme of it. Like that silent stalking killer who just is walking while you're running, yet they always catch up with you. This guy that just kind of, this big muscular monster that just seems to be so quiet that he just kind of pops out of nowhere. When you look at the memes, it's generally always Jason you're looking at in these memes, because he kind of became the de facto version of that silent, killing, slow-moving monster. You know, the Michael Myers type thing. Even though Michael Myers came first, I think Jason kind of became the mainstream perfection of it. But yeah, that's my list. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please tell me your favorite monsters that originated from movies. I know I left a lot off this list, and there's a lot of cool ones out there. So please let me know what your favorite are. Thank you, and have a good day.